Welcome to Backbone Unlimited. My name is Matt Hartsky. In this episode, I'm giving you one of the most requested videos I've had to date. This episode will be the full Backbone Unlimited terrain and e-scouting glossary of 100 terms with definitions and visuals. These are the exact features I reference across my videos, plus the ones every new hunter needs to understand if they want to stop guessing and start reading the mountains the way elk and mule deer actually use them on Western public land. I'm breaking down the terrain features, wind patterns, thermal behavior, and e-scouting elements that actually dictate where elk and mule deer live, bed, feed, and travel. Most hunters think e-scouting is just dropping pins and circling random basins, but the guys who consistently get into animals understand the landscape at a deeper level. They can look at a ridge or a drainage on a map and see movement, bedding structure, thermal patterns, and escape routes before they ever set foot in the mountains. So now is the time to subscribe so you don't lose this video. Hit the bell for notifications about the next series of e-scouting videos on OnX, and grab your notebook because there is a lot of information here. Let's go. Term number one, the ridge, is a long elevated terrain line animals use for travel, bedding, and wind advantage. Hunters use ridges to move undetected and glass multiple drainages. The top third of that big hill, that's your ridge. Number two is the finger ridge or spur ridge. Those are small ridges branching from a main ridge that funnel animal movement, ideal for ambush setups and predicting bedding transitions. Number three is your ridge spine. That's the highest walkable line on a ridge where elk often travel just off the top for concealment. Hunters use them for quiet access and glassing vantages. Number four is the bench, a flat or gently sloped shelf that is heavily used as bedding. They could be 100 yards or 600 yards long, and they're used for side hill travel routes. They're also prime midday bedding zones for elk and mule deer. Number five is the shelf, which is just a narrow, subtle bench that animals use for security and contour travel. Hunters have to zoom in during e-scouting to actually locate those hidden bedding opportunities. Number six is the saddle, the low point between two peaks that funnels movement. Classic crossing terrain for dawn and dusk transitions and pressured elk. Number seven is your basin, the bowl-shaped depression often used for nighttime feeding. Hunters glass the basin edges at first light for animals returning to bed. Number eight is the bowl, which is just a steeper version of a basin with more concentrated thermal flow, excellent for morning glassing terrain where animals feed before bedding. Number nine is the draw, which is a small V-shaped cut offering shade, water, and concealment. Elk and mule deer use draws for bedding and travel, especially during hot or pressured periods. Number 10 is the ravine, just a deeper, sharper draw providing strong security cover. Animals hide there during midday and when pressured. Number 11 is the drainage. It's the primary downward flow of terrain and oftentimes water with a creek in the bottom that connects feeding and bedding zones. They're reliable for travel and feeding areas for elk and mule deer. Number 12 is the creek bottom or riparian corridor. There's going to be a lot of forage, shaded travel corridor used for nighttime feeding. Hunters monitor those areas at dawn and dusk. Number 13 is a coulee, which is a dry prairie drainage used by mule deer for bedding and escape. They're excellent terrain for still hunting and spot and stalk. Number 14 is the ledge or cliff band, which is steep rock faces that create bedding pockets beneath and escape cover above. Animals bed there for security. Number 15 is the head wall, which is just the steep upper end of a drainage where a lot of bulls and bucks bed in shaded pockets because it's tough to access and makes it a low pressure refuge. Number 16 is a mesa or plateau. Well, it looks kind of isolated here. It's really just a flat top terrain with steep edges that a lot of times mule deer especially use for bedding and feeding cycles. Hunters glass the edges at dawn and evening. A lot of times you'll see a plateau. It'll look like a plateau from down below, but from up above, the top of it, the flat part actually extends for miles and it can connect to a lot of other flat terrain. Number 17 is the escarpment, which is a long, steep slope separating elevations. Animals travel parallel to the top or bottom where terrain is the easiest. Number 18 is the spur, the knob, or the point, and they can look a little bit different. There's subtle variations in the three of those, but in essence, they are all small elevated points offering wind and visibility advantages. Elk and mule deer bed there when undisturbed, but they're also great spots for hunters who are glassing. Number 19 is the timber edge, which is the border between the forest and the open ground. It's a high traffic area for feeding and transitions and ideal glassing and ambush spots. Rising thermals. Those are the thermals that happen after the sun has warmed the slope. So I hear from a lot of guys, they say, well, I've never heard that, thermals are falling in the morning. I thought that they were always rising in the morning. Well, they're only rising after the sun has warmed that spot. If the sun doesn't warm that spot, guess what? You're not probably going to have rising thermals if that slope hasn't warmed up. And so the word thermal dictates heat, and so thermals are caused by heat, right? When there is heat, then you have rising thermals. When you have lack of heat because of shade or cloud cover or storms, then you're going to have falling thermals. So rising thermals are midday uphill airflow that carries your scent upwards. So if your scent is traveling upwards, it would make sense that hunters must approach from above the animals to stay undetected, because then the scent is flowing away when you're approaching from above. When you have falling thermals, so in the evening when the shade has hit a slope, those thermals start to fall, right? And they carry downward all night, all the way through the morning until the sun starts to heat them again. So your first thing in the morning and your evening when you're hunting, you've got downhill airflow that pulls scent down the slope. So in those scenarios, the hunter must always approach from below during those periods. Then we've got number 22, which is the thermal switch. And that's the moment the thermals change direction, right? In the morning and again in the evening. Those are critical for timing your stalks to avoid being winded. You've got to anticipate those happening when the sun is coming out in the morning and starts to warm those slopes. You're going to have the switch from falling to rising. And then again in the evening, as soon as that shade starts to develop, you're going to have thermal switching from rising to falling. Number 23 is the thermal trap, and that's when terrain causes swirling wind, often busting stalks. Hunters should avoid calling or approaching in those pockets. Number 24 is the wind funnel. Terrain narrows the wind into a predictable direction there, ideal for planning setups and safe approaches. Then you've got your wind eddy, number 25, which is a circulating wind pocket behind obstacles. So you've got to watch out, because that's commonly where stalks fail, especially on mule deer, when you're stalking them in rocky ground, and they're bedded around those rocks. So hunters have to avoid those bedding areas with eddies. Number 26 is the leeward side. A lot of people don't know what that word leeward means, and that just means that it's the wind-protected side of a ridge where animals bed for predictability and security. It's prime bedding terrain. Number 27 is the opposite. It's the windward side. So that's the wind-facing slope. Animals are usually only out there when they're feeding and they're moving around, but rarely bedding, right? It's good for spotting undisturbed morning activity. Number 28 is the crosswind terrain, side hills where wind cuts across travel routes. Elk commonly bed facing downhill with wind at their back. Number 29 is micro-terrain wind, which are small dips or bumps that create swirling scent at ground level. Hunters have to move slowly there and test the wind often in that type of terrain. Number 30 is your pressure wind, which is your strong front-driven winds around a storm front, right? Those types of winds can override thermals. Animals relocate to wind-protected slopes until the conditions stabilize. Number 31 is a feed-to-bed line. It's a predictable morning route that animals use when leaving nighttime feeding areas. Hunters can intercept those transitions at first light. Number 32 is your bed to feed line. That's your evening route animals take towards feeding locations. Ideal ambush zones for both elk and mule deer. Number 33 is your side hill travel route. Preferred contour movement path that conserves energy. Great for identifying travel corridors on steep slopes. Number 34 is the transition zone. That's your border between timber and more open terrain with steady movement. It's high value ambush and glassing areas. Number 35 is your mid-elevation band. That's the elevation where food, temperature, and security align. Elk hold there for stable weather, making it key for e-scouting. Number 36 is ridge to drainage transition, your movement corridor animals use during pressure or weather changes. Reliable travel path to monitor. Number 37 is your security cover corridor. It's the thick timber or brush allowing daytime movement to be unseen. Elk and mule deer use those to shift bedding locations quietly. Number 38 is the escape route. That's going to be the steepest, nastiest path that the animals can take when pressured. The way that they want to get out of there and try to leave you in the dust. Hunters use those to predict where bumped elk and mule deer are going to relocate. Number 39 is the rut travel lane. Route the bulls use in September to check cow groups, right? The prime calling or ambush location during peak rut. Number 40 is the shadow line or shade line. Animals follow the shaded edges during heat to reduce their energy use. They're good for midday still hunting. Number 41 is sun aspect travel. That's because movement changes with slope aspect. Food, bedding, and thermals vary by direction and shaping those animals' patterns. Number 42 is bedding micropocket. Those are small indentations offering wind consistency and visibility for the animal, a common hitting bedding site. Number 43 is the north-facing slope. That's your cool, shaded slope, often used for bedding and security. They're prime elk bedding in early seasons. Number 44 is south-facing slopes. Those are your warmer slopes with more abundant feed. Animals feed there in cooler months and during the late season. Number 45 is your east-facing slope. Those receive more morning sunlight, commonly early feeding slope for both elk and mule deer. Number 46 is the west-facing slope. Those warm later in the day. Elk often transition there, as do mule deer during the afternoon feeding. Number 47 is to look at the timber type. Different timber structures dictate bedding likelihood. Hunters want to identify the dark, quiet, secure timber for bedding. Your vegetation edge, number 48, is the line where vegetation types meet. Animals travel those seams for safety and forage variety. Number 49 is burn scars. You're looking for new growth which attracts elk and mule deer, especially during the early season, and it's excellent glassing terrain. Number 50 is new growth and regrowth timber. That's your thick young cover used heavily for bedding and security. It's difficult to hunt, but high probability refuge area. Number 51 is old growth timber. It's open yet shaded. Mule deer love to bed there due to visibility. Number 52 is meadow systems. Those are your night feeding areas for elk, and your rut activity concentrates around those meadow edges. Number 53 is beaver ponds. Obviously, your water and forage is going to attract animals, good for midday elk activity zones. Number 54, the elk favorite, the wallow. Those are your bull redding areas that are tied to water and the mud, ideal places to locate active bulls in September. Number 55 are your water holes in your seeps, critical water sources during hot periods or dry areas, perfect for midday ambush opportunities. Number 56 is your high forage zones. Those are your areas rich in forbs and grasses. They are key feeding zones to locate herds. Number 57 is glassing features. Those are open terrain allowing long-range observation. Hunters want to use those to find the animals efficiently. Number 58 is the sanctuary pocket. Those are your hard-to-reach terrain areas where elk retreat to when pressured. They're high-value areas in overhunted units. They're the nasty stuff where nobody wants to go. Number 59 is your pressure relief drainage. Those are your small drainages where animals escape into after disturbance. A lot of hunters locate elk there after opening day. Number 60 is your no-path zones. That's just terrain which lacks trails or easy access. That's what we want. They're preferred by mature animals and great locations for finding undisturbed mule deer and elk. Number 61 is steep sidewalls. Those are secure bedding slopes with wind advantage. Animals use them for tough-to-approach beds. Number 62 is the cliff band or rock slide. They're super difficult terrain where predators and hunters avoid, and elk and deer both use those for bedding and escape. Number 63 Deadfall. Most guys know deadfall, that heavy blowdown providing security cover. Pressured elk in particular love to retreat into those areas. Super hard to hunt, prime areas for elk. 64 is private public boundary zones, just like they say. You know that that's going to be your fence lines and your boundaries between public and private. Animals tend to move along those boundaries to avoid hunters. They realize that they don't know what public and private boundaries are, but they understand that a lot of times when they move into a certain area, all of a sudden the hunting pressure stops. And so those are where consistent pressure-driven travel patterns often occur. Number 65 is your roadless interior zones. Something else that we particularly like to look for, those deep interior areas where human presence is low. It's the best daytime bedding area for elk and mule deer. Number 66 is your terrain trap. Those are features that force movement through narrow points, which make them perfect for ambush locations. Number 67 is sound funnels. Terrain that channels or muffles sound. Those affect your calling strategy and the bull response distance. Number 68 are visual windows. Those are open sight lines created by terrain. Strategic glassing angles for spotting movement. Number 69 is your e-scouting contour reading, and that has to do with the topographical lines on your map. Understanding that contour spacing in those lines is going to help you identify bedding pockets, benches, and travel routes. Number 70 is elevation bands. Animals shift elevation with seasons and weather. Hunters want to track those bands for locating the herds. Number 71 is productive versus non-productive basins. Productive basins are going to have your best forage and your shade, right? And those types of things are going to dictate pressure and access and determine the basin's quality. Hunters want to prioritize productive basins, not non-productive, dead-looking basins. Number 72 is your north face bedding loop. Those are preferred bedding circuits used throughout the day, and they're reliable patterns for predicting elk and mule deer locations. Number 73 is your rut convergence zones. Those are areas where cow groups feed and cover all meat. They're high rut activity areas and are high in calling potential. Number 74 is your migration corridors. They're late season movement routes shaped by snow and weather, and they're excellent rifle season hunting areas. Number 75 is glassing angles and sun direction, understanding that sunlight affects visibility. Hunters plan glassing routes based on shade and the glare they're going to get. Number 76 is thermals versus prevailing wind overlays. So conflicting wind directions can shape your approach strategies, and hunters have to understand and adjust their setup accordingly. Number 77 is the snow line. That's going to determine daily and seasonal elk elevation, especially during the late season. When you hit that snow line and how deep the snow line gets, that's going to determine whether it pushes the elk down or not. And a lot of times the mule deer as well. And it's critical for those late season hunts. Number 78 is your south slope forage belt, where the snow melts first, exposing the feed, and it makes it prime winter feeding territory. Number 79 is timberline bedding, which is your cold season bedding areas beneath timber cover. Animals are going to use those for warmth and concealment. Number 80 is your avalanche chutes, which are open feeding areas with regenerated growth, right? They're also escape terrain for pressured animals. Number 81 is the ridge crest beds, where animals bed there to rotate between windward and leeward sides. They're excellent midday glassing targets because you can spot those animals transitioning between the two. Number 82 is the micro bench. Those are just your tiny shelves hidden by contour lines. Animals bed there for security and consistent thermals. They're hard to see on the map. Number 83 are your hidden cuts, the small drainages that are invisible at low zoom, and they're used for travel and bedding. Number 84 is shadow pockets, those cool shaded bedding areas used for thermoregulation, great still hunting targets. Number 85 is reverse slope bedding, beds just below the ridge tops on the leeward side, right, the side away from the wind, where animals gain a more consistent wind and visual advantage. Number 86 is side hill bedding chains, which are just a series of connected bedding spots along a particular contour. Elk and mule deer often cycle through them based on the wind. Number 87 is thermal crossover points, and those are locations where rising and falling thermals are going to meet, and they're critical timing zones for your stalks. Got to pay attention to those thermal crossover points. And those often happen, between a sun line and a shade line, right? So you could have a slope where it's sunny and you've got rising thermals, but as soon as you hit some shade, you're going to have falling thermals. And so you want to pay attention to those as you're moving in or you're setting up to call. Number 88 is your cover to open ratio zones. That just tells you what an area has with balanced cover versus visibility and how that's going to attract animals. They're key places to locate feeding or transitioning elk and mule deer. Number 89 is your low pressure funnel. That's just terrain that allows animals to move unseen between basins, and they're going to be used heavily when hunting pressure rises. Number 90 is day bed triangles. Those are beds with wind at the back of the animal where they have visibility down slope, right? That's your classic elk bedding structure where they can watch the downhill slope, they've got the wind at their back, and they're probably going to have thermal advantage. Number 91 is rut circuits, and those are just predictable loops that bulls travel while checking cow groups. Those are perfect for calling setups. Number 92 is satellite bull edges. Just your perimeter routes that satellite bulls will use to monitor a herd activity where they're sneaking around trying to stay out of trouble but maybe sneak in and grab a cow. They're great for ambush locations. Number 93 is your mid-morning bedding loops. That's where your mule deer and elk shift bedding based on the sun, wind, and pressure, and a lot of times hunters can intercept during those transitions. 94 is your water-adjacent bedding, which is just bedding close to water during the hot season. It's great in particular for midday elk locations. Number 95 is your ridge crest travel with a crosswind. Bulls often run the ridge tops using crosswind to scent check cows, so it's ideal for locating traveling bulls. Number 96 is your high basin summer beds. Obviously, that's where your mule deer in particular are going to be bedding at really high elevation for wind, shade, and visibility. They can often be good in the early season for glassing as well. Number 97 are your timber pockets, just your thick pockets inside more open terrain, often where a lot of bucks hide and they can be prime ambush and still hunting targets. 98 are your escape faces. Those are your cliffy escape terrain where pressured bucks like to retreat to. Mule deer often vanish there during hunts. 99 is your low light edge zones. Those are areas where animals move at dawn and dusk, and they're perfect transitions for glassing terrain. And number 100 is your shade to sun bedding switch zones. Those are where midday movement areas where bucks reposition after the sun shifts. So they're ideal for steel hunting or intercepting transitions during those movement periods. Understanding these terrain features, wind behaviors, and movement patterns is the foundation of everything we do in Western hunting. When you can look at a map and actually see bedding structure, travel corridors, thermal behavior, and escape routes, the mountains stop feeling random and you start hunting with purpose instead of hope. And this is just the beginning. In the coming videos dealing with OnX, we're going to break down these concepts even deeper and walk step by step through how to apply them in real e-scouting scenarios so you can build your own hunt plan with confidence. So make sure to subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss any of those breakdowns when they drop. If you're serious about taking this kind of knowledge deeper, that's exactly why I built Team Backbone. It's more than just a membership. It's a way to sharpen your edge with exclusive tools, strategies, and a tribe of hunters who refuse to quit. Inside, you're going to get 20% off site-wide on all Backbone Unlimited gear, a member-only t-shirt shipped to your door every single month, designs you can't get anywhere else, full access to the digital content vault of guides, checklists, fitness and backcountry strategy, nutrition, mindset, and everything I've built to help you hunt smarter. Access to our private Team Backbone Facebook group where you can ask me questions directly and learn alongside a community of driven hunters. Direct call, text, or email access to me for personalized advice on training, hunt planning, or dialing in your approach on the mountain. And you're automatically entered into our monthly gear giveaways. This is built for the guys who train for the hunt, push themselves in the off season, and want to be a part of a tribe that makes them better. If you're ready for that kind of inner circle, then Team Backbone is waiting for you at backboneunlimited.com underneath our membership tab. Thanks for being here. Until next time, train harder, hunt smarter, and never settle.